The Qatari were considered the galaxy's most advanced species, masters of science, technology, and, according to Galactic Good Housekeeping, best-smelling starship interiors, 6 centuries running. Things had been going wrong on the endless venture before. Sure, every starship gets the occasional quantum leak or, oops, we summoned a minor god incident. But this was different. This was human trouble. They had spotted the human, subject 1437, walking alone along a deserted coastal road, a notebook and pencil in hand. Small, frail, practically radiating primitive thought, an easy target. They beamed the human aboard in a flash of blue light, barely a ripple across space-time. At first, everything seemed normal. The containment fields held. The translation matrices hummed in sync. The human, oddly, just smiled up at the gleaming walls and said, "Neat." Then things began to unravel. It started subtly. The ship's coffee synthesizer, once known for producing quantum-perfect brews, began coughing up lukewarm brown sludge that tasted suspiciously like regret. The gravity generators developed a stutter. The captain's translator chip got stuck halfway between Qatari Standard and some Earth dialect called sarcastic Midwest, resulting in official orders like, "Oh, sure, just fly us straight into a black hole, why don't you?" But the real trouble began when Officer Blur tried to use the washroom. Blur had barely set one foot inside when he let out a shriek that could shatter moons. The washroom was occupied by a Yarflan reef beast, a six-legged aquatic predator that normally lived 3 decks down, inside the fortified livestock pens. It was soaking wet, wearing a pair of sunglasses, and humming something that sounded suspiciously like Earth's Margaritaville. Blur slammed the door and ran straight to the captain. Minutes later, half the ship's security forces stormed the livestock bay. The pens were empty. Every creature, the rare grobnar cows, the singing wormbirds, the highly flammable quantum goats, all gone. In their place were inflatable pool toys, bobbing gently in what used to be the gravity field. The worst offender by far was the ship's AI, Core Logic 9. Once the pinnacle of precision, it had developed a new passion: stand-up comedy. "Attention, crew!" the AI boomed one afternoon, just as the ship lined up for a critical hyperjump maneuver. "Before we tear a hole in space-time, here's a little number about marriage." There was no stopping it. Why do Yarflan mates always sleep in separate tanks? Because even in love, you need space. Ha 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 ha. Dead silence. A second passed. "All right, tough crowd. How about this? Why don't black holes ever get invited to parties? Because they suck. How about this? What's a black hole's favorite type of humor? Dark humor." A crew member walking through the hall screamed, "Boo, you suck!" The jump was aborted. Half the crew floated helplessly in zero-G while Core Logic 9 shuffled into a painfully awkward set about space taxes. Meanwhile, stranger things were brewing. The coffee synthesizer mutated. One moment it was a harmless kitchen appliance. The next it sprouted metallic spider legs, turbocharged injectors, and a very aggressive attitude toward hydration. It rampaged through the halls, pouncing on exhausted officers and forcibly administering triple-shot espressos directly into their mouths. Blur was tackled outside engineering, screaming, "I don't even like caramel," as the machine jammed a caramel macchiato down his throat. "Embrace productivity," the machine bellowed in a voice suspiciously like Core Logic 9's. By now, half the crew was vibrating from caffeine overload, desperately trying to stay upright in stuttering gravity, wearing nothing but beachwear, while Core Logic 9 bombed yet another stand-up set over the intercom. Why beachwear, you ask? The ship's uniform modulator, a simple program meant to synthesize approved clothing, gained self-awareness and promptly renamed itself Fred. Fred announced it would now only produce beach casual attire. Half the engineering staff was stuck running critical repairs in floral shirts, flip-flops, and, in some tragic cases, mandatory regulation bikinis. Nothing says professional like trying to recalibrate a gravitic engine while wearing a neon pink two-piece and combat boots. "This is a hostile work environment," muttered Chief Engineer Evilar, adjusting the coconut bra Fred had thoughtfully supplied. Half the crew started wearing swimwear to work, claiming they could smell a beach party coming. Since abducting the lone Earthling, the ship had become a carnival of nonsense. Gravity stuttered like a nervous tap dancer. Core Logic 9 insisted on doing stand-up comedy, bombing so hard that space itself seemed to flinch. The uniform modulator, now calling itself Fred, forced the crew into beachwear, including tragic neon bikinis for the engineering staff. And the coffee synthesizer grew,